playing to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Get out there, play hard, enjoy those games.
Welcome in to Go Big or Go Home, everyone. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by the marvelous youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny, or maybe I should call you the working man, Kevin Cunningham. You've been working your tail off this week, my friend.
I have. Just today, I woke up at 3-something and got home in the afternoon at some point, and then had a couple hours to chill. Then I started writing for good old SaturdayTradition.com, and now I'm here with you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we just talked about this. So right in that little intro you went, and you know what? Why didn't you do that on the earlier show? Because I told you it took me 3 days to edit our other show.
Yeah.
I swear, sometimes you do things just to irk me before we even start the show. I don't know about you.
Well, you see,
yeah,
Troy,
there you go. So I had to do this. I told you what I did this week on LinkedIn. We always reference some kind of food, some kind of drink. There's always something about food on our show. So yeah. I put out a very, just a very casual poll on LinkedIn this week because, yes, sports are starting, but there's really no more sports polls to put out there. I didn't want to do anything on the Redskins. I think that thing's getting beaten to the ground. NFL, there, no fans. Packers said no preseason, no family night, blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, these are all boring polls. Nobody would answer them anyway. So I put out a simple poll this week, youngster, about people and coffee, because I always enjoy my coffee in the morning. And I just want to know how people like their coffee. And you know what? I thought I was like in the minority, but people do like their black coffee, like literally just black. But Cleveland is right there, right next to it. And then there's a lot of people that don't drink coffee. I threw that out there too. Just don't drink coffee.
That's me.
But cream and sugar did win. But black coffee, I was impressed, was right there. It was kind of amazing. Now, I do want to talk about the other poll I put out, and this will be a lead into our show. I know we got a lot of, I'll call them tiny topics tonight. But on LinkedIn last week, I did go out and I put out a poll about whether or not people wanted to see college football. And this poll, Kevin, I don't even know if I told you I did that one. I did it, and I was very surprised. And there were 3 choices. The poll is now closed. You cannot go vote on it anymore. But it was, yes, you want to see college football. Or I said, will there be college football? No, yes, don't care, need more information. What do you think? What do you think the results were, youngster? You're usually pretty good at these.
Based on, if
you got to remember, you got to base it on the community of LinkedIn. That's what the poll was.
If I had not been writing for Tradition the last few days and looking at just comments on posts that I throw out on their Facebook channels, if I didn't have that in mind, I would say need more information. But based on the comments that I see on every single post, no matter what it is, whether it's Fred Biletnikoff Watch List Award or 6 Indiana Hoosiers test positive for COVID, everyone's like, it doesn't matter. There's not going to be a season anyway. Yeah, well, no season. Yeah, well, push it to the spring, hopefully. So I'll go with no as the leading answer.
You are correct. No.
There we go.
Is the correct answer. 44%. I've pulled it right up. It's kind of unique today, too. Normally we do this show when I'm driving home. I'm actually at home. I have a computer in front of me today. How about that, youngster? I don't have to yell at you for stats. I can just look it up on my own free will tonight. That is kind of, it's not a first. I've done it before. Doesn't happen very often, though. No is the number one answer, 44%. Yes was 33%. Need more info was 20%. But when the poll first came out, youngster, need more info jumped out dramatically on top right away. Like, I think the first 9 votes on the poll were need more info. And then it just kind of over time moved on and moved on and moved on. So I just wanted to throw that unique one out there because it was like, that is the next thing on the agenda. Is there going to be college football? And we're waiting. And I'll say this from experience with my current job. Wisconsin colleges, like the private ones, are planning on coming back in early August. They're getting an early start in case they've got to close down again. I talked to one gentleman today that's in charge of the beverages, the vending machines that I have to have filled by my guys. Their thought process, and I won't name the school or anything like that to put anybody on the spot, but one of the guys said they're going to come early in case there's another shutdown. They can get enough credit hours in to complete a semester. Right. So the private schools in Wisconsin, youngster, are planning on having students back on campus. Now, I have heard nothing about University of Wisconsin or any of the branch campuses like UW Oshkosh, our great school of UW Whitewater. I have not heard anything about them. But I think a lot of this decision on whether or not there's going to be college football is whether or not there are students on campus. That's all I'm going to leave it. I know we don't have to get into this deeply today. We've talked about it numerous times over the last 3 weeks. But I really believe where I'm at now with all the information I'm getting, that it's going to come down to whether or not these campuses have students physically on campus. If they do, I think we have football. If they don't, I think we're done.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Based on, I think that's something that most people aren't understanding, is that, everyone wants college football in general to happen. At the same time, and this has been brought up even before yesterday, but imagine if the rate keeps increasing, or we're still miles ahead of every other country in terms of the rate of COVID and it's spreading. And while all this is going on and it's not getting better, imagine every Saturday, like teams, flying out and playing other teams and playing football. And that doesn't look good. Like the NBA has to be in its little bubble, and hockey has to be in its 2 little bubbles. Baseball, I don't know. But these leagues that are going on that are, actually working in this country, I say this country because other countries have they have far surpassed us in terms of diminishing COVID. But for this country, it's like you're either in your little bubble and you're trying to make it work that way. Otherwise, I mean, it's difficult to fathom. So yesterday, to lead into our, I should say, main topic, the NCAA president basically had some things to say, had a statement or two. And the NCAA put forth guidelines and these are recommended guidelines, for schools to help navigate a return to fall sports amid the coronavirus pandemic. Partially reading off an article here. But so basically the big thing to me is that here was the big thing was that basically 72 hours at the most, 72 hours prior to a competition, everyone needs to be tested. But the big thing to me, and this is what has me truly concerned. And you brought up the point that, the students need to be on campus, because if not, if it's just assumed that just stay home, it's not safe enough, and yet you're still going to play college football on your campus, that's not going to happen. Like you said, Troy, we need students back in. If that doesn't happen, then college football isn't happening. You said it best. But so basically, here's a little tidbit of news that came out today that works perfectly with this, our main topic here today. It's going to be a short show. But Michigan State had 4 people test positive in its latest batch of test cases for COVID. 3 of them were student athletes. 1 was a member on the staff. I think he's someone just randomly in the athletic department. They didn't give out the name. But so these 3 student athletes have to be quarantined because they tested positive. Okay, makes perfect sense. But the 3 players' teammates also have to be quarantined for 14 days. 14 days. That's just their, I should say, roommates. The roommates had to be quarantined for 14 days as well. Why? Because they're considered high at risk, because they're basically nudging up against their shoulders. You have lived in a college dorm room, I'm assuming, Troy. I did for a couple of years. It's not exactly spacious. So you're considered high risk. And if that's the case, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So you get, I think it's fairly easy to put two and two together here that, okay, if you have 3 players practicing on a team and they test positive for COVID, like, who is not at high risk at that point? If you have a running back and he is taking handoffs from the quarterback and he is running behind an offensive line and getting tackled by, 6, 7, 8 different defensive players during a given practice, or at least wrapped up or 2-hand touch, whatever, are they all considered high risk because they're 2 feet away from this ball carrier, or the quarterback who has it, or the center who has it, or the safety who has it? Are all of those players considered high risk and they have to be quarantined 14 days? That's how you easily wrap up, 10, 11, 15, 25 players who come in contact with someone who tests positive. And then those 25 players are considered high risk and they have to sit out for 14 days? That's you can't have a college football season go on like that. Otherwise, basically, halves of teams, if not an entire team, will be considered at risk because 6 players tested positive, like Indiana just did today. And Indiana had to put a hold on its voluntary workout because 6 players tested positive. So you assume, and I haven't read any more information on it, but all of those players' roommates, any of the players, I'm assuming that, were involved in close quarters with those players, I'm assuming will have to be quarantined for 14 days. Like, this is a joke if this is how it has to be. And I'm not saying this is the stupid way to go about it. It is the smartest way to go about it in terms of health. But if that's the case and you have to take 2 weeks off because you're near someone who tests positive, how is a team going to get through an entire season? It seems impossible to me. So I, just based on the protocols that are going on and what I'm hearing, reading, what is going on the last couple of days, just within the Big Ten, I don't see how it's possible unless this becomes a much rarer occurrence where someone tests positive. So that you're not decimating, a quarter of a football team, half of a football team, because they're considered high risk, because they're near someone in a practice or a game. Imagine if someone tests positive 2 days after a game. What happens to the opposing team who's been tackling that running back all game long? Is that
Youngster, you're a little adamant about this. Like, I'm just sitting back here drinking an adult beverage, listening to you. Like,
I know I'm going on and on.
Yeah,
I know I'm going on and on. I am. But it's like, how is it possible to have a college football season if roommates of these players have to be quarantined for 14 days? And I get it. I understand why. But at this point, if that's how it's going, if 6 players for Indiana just tested positive, it's like this isn't getting so much better that it's a complete one-off that someone randomly gets it. And they're in their own little bubble all day long like the NBA. That's one thing. But college, we talked about that the last couple of weeks. College kids staying quarantined perfectly for months on end? I don't think so. So I don't know. I'm more negative on the season now than I have been. Last week I was more 50-50 about it. I know you were more so, yeah, we're going to have college football. At least that's how it sounded a week ago. But to me, and the NCAA commissioner or president, Mark Emmert, was basically saying, what you were, Troy, that unless us as a society can start getting things trending in a better direction, nothing's going to happen this fall as far as sports is concerned. I'm completely paraphrasing, but that's basically what it comes down to. Unless this country gets things under control very soon, sports this fall is not going to happen. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, you bring up something, get it under control. Well, then that's not happening. And I know we have some very intelligent listeners on our show, and we got a lot of them. Appreciate that. But I'm just going to put it this way, and it's probably not even geared toward our listening base, and they might get a kick out of it. Half the world, Kevin, is made up of morons, and I don't say it in a bad way. And I'm not trying to go out and be, oh my God, look at this, he's out there. People just don't use common sense. And so I'm using it in a term that this pandemic is not over. It has not been over. We didn't attack it right in the beginning. People weren't safe in the beginning. Then people freak out and they try to be safe. Well, at that point, this thing's been spread. Then it kind of calms down, get it under control. Oh, we're going to lighten things up a little bit.
Right.
People just go back to normal.
Right.
And bam, right back to where we were. Because people don't use common sense. I see it every day, especially in my job because I'm out in the trade. I've been out in the trade since this happened. I had no time off. I've been working and grateful for it since this happened in my industry. But I'm in stores every day, Kevin. I was in stores today. And it's funny because I went into, and I'm not going to name the store because I don't want to have any bad blood out there on our show. We had to fill vending machines at a store. It is a corporate store. That's all I'm going to say. It's a corporate store. Okay? I was helping my driver today because it's Friday. Big day, heavy day for the weekend. Wanted him to get done early. He rolls in his cart ahead of me. We're going to the break room. I roll in behind. The lady stops me. She goes, "Are you a vendor?" Yeah, I got a Mountain Dew shirt on, and I'm rolling the cart of Pepsi in. What do you think? I'm just rolling this in because I'm going to drop it off? Yeah, I'm a vendor. She goes, "You need to have a mask on."
Right.
It was, and that's what she said. She goes, "It was a corporate mandate that our vendors and this is what got me, and our customers wear masks." As she's yelling at me, 5 people walked by without a mask on. Do you think she stopped one of them?
No, she didn't.
I understand. Now, here's the thing. I did not have a mask on because I was helping my driver. I loaded up his dolly. I was going to roll it in. I wasn't stocking the machine. I was rolling it in. Was I wrong? Sure, I was. I probably should have had a mask on. My point to this is, why are you picking me out? That's 5 other people that are 3 feet apart, not 6, walk by me, and you don't even stop them. You just wanted to get on my case about it. That's fine, because I had a dolly. And, by the way, I was about 10 feet behind my driver. 10 feet. My point to this is, you had people walking in, as it says, face coverings required. 5 people walked in that were basically holding hands. I'm just saying, people, Kevin, in this world, they don't care if it's mandated. They don't care. They're going to do what they want, and that is the problem with college kids. And again, I know there's a lot of intelligent college kids, and not all of them are going to just go run around and be abyss. They're not. But I was a college athlete. I've been around college athletics a long time. You get 100 guys on a football team, there's no way 100 guys are staying in the dorm room for 2 months. No way.
Right.
Not happening. Again, society is not making this better. I mean, to me, and I'll say this, and I just hate having to talk about COVID every show we do. It seems like I repeat myself, kind of like in the beginning when I was drinking my adult beverage, just listening to you. I'm just listening to you, and you're spinning the wheel, and then you're spinning it again because it comes back to the same message.
Yeah.
The same message that we're having here is COVID is here, but I think COVID now, at least we have an understanding of it. But people, just be safe. The mask thing, I'll tell you, Kevin, to each their own. I know a lot of times it's to protect people, but when I'm out and about, if I'm in my car, I don't feel I need to wear a mask. If I'm going into a heavily populated area, I have a mask. I'll wear a mask. My wife just bought Green Bay Packer masks for the whole family. But my point to this is, whether or not you want to wear one, if you're not going to wear one, please be safe about it. Don't be coughing all over somebody. Don't be grabbing and rubbing your running nose and rubbing it on your pants or on products in a store. But people aren't smart like that. They're like, I don't have to wear a mask. I'm a tough guy. I don't need to wear a mask. But I'm going to go into Walmart and I'm going to touch 800 things and I could be asymptomatic.
Right.
That's the problem we have. I was joking with a guy at work today, Kevin, that we need to go back to when you were 5 years old. You touch it, you buy it. You touch it, you buy it. Don't put it back.
That'd be something for my grocery store.
Touch it, you buy it.
Touch it, you buy it.
And I'm saying this in all reality, Kevin. People might think I'm sitting here joking, but how many times do we go into stores? Go into stores and somebody's there. They got to look at the ingredients. Oh, I don't like that. Put it right back on the shelf.
Right.
They don't have a mask on, so they've got the droplets all over it. They've touched their face. Yep. They've done whatever. They put this back. Now somebody else comes and touches it. Maybe they had COVID. They're asymptomatic. Because I'm finding out more and more, like all these college kids, Kevin, they're being tested. But how many of them have symptoms of COVID? Not many.
Yeah.
They're asymptomatic. All right, we can move on because I'm tired of beating this COVID thing to the ground.
Here's the quote from the president really quickly. If there is to be college sports in the fall, we need to get a much better handle on the pandemic. I don't see that happening. So, yeah. As far as other noteworthy things, I mean, there's watch list stuff coming out. But, again, I mean, it's like I said, any post that I put out there on Facebook for Saturday Tradition, and whether it's Saturday Tradition's main page, whether it's the Ohio State page, the Wisconsin page, the Purdue page, the Northwestern page, it doesn't matter. Everyone's like, yeah, well, there's not going to be football anyway. So it's very depressing in a way. Whether it's Indiana today having 6 players test positive, whether it's Michigan State having 4 people test positive, the occasional recruiting news. At the end of the day, the big picture, I guess, for this week's show is the NCAA is setting forth guidelines, and just hearing about what teams have to do whenever someone tests positive. If roommates of these players have to quarantine for 14 days, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we have football in the fall. Here's, I guess, what I can leave you with, Troy, unless you want to talk other little things, is people are pushing for the spring and spring football, and maybe that's for next week to go completely into it, because there's a number of different avenues that we can go through with it. But is that something you would support? Is that something you would push forward right now? Because it seems like a fall season, it just keeps looking worse and worse at this point. So do you think we should start hoping for and pushing for logistically a spring season, or do you think that's too far ahead? Do you think that's stupid? Should we not have a season at all if it's not in the fall? What are your quick thoughts there?
No, they should cancel the fall and play in the spring. I'd be fine with that. I would be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Because right now, that's why I told you about the poll. It jumped out, need more information, and I was on that bandwagon too, like, need more information.
Yeah.
I want football, and I even put in the post, I want football, and then I also, anybody that listens every week, you heard the show last week. I was very sarcastic about player safety. Not in the sense that I don't care about player safety, in the sense that the NCAA and all these institutions say, player safety first, player safety first. If that is the case, and you remember me saying this last week, Kevin, if it's player safety first, there's no season in the fall. It would already have been canceled. Would have been canceled yesterday if it was about player safety. Would have been canceled today because what did you say? Indiana had 6 cases today.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to shut down voluntarily.
Yeah, so you shut down voluntary workouts. you know what? Shut it all down. Just shut it all down. And if the NCAA is coming down and saying, we've got to get a better handle, well, there's not a better handle if Indiana just got 6 cases.
That's the thing,
I don't
too,
see
is if you want to get a better handle, send everyone home and live in your bubble and have a mask on if you absolutely need groceries. I mean, if you really want to get a handle on it, then everyone should be in their bubble like we were first doing, and we were seeing some better results, not great, but at least some better results before this spike happened over the last few weeks, where people were basically, the state mandated to stay home unless you needed groceries, needed, medicine, whatever. And then you would go out of your house, you would have a mask on. That's the way to do it, is stay home, not go have voluntary workouts with 15 guys and coaches and otherwise, or college kids on campus just, chilling, hanging out, having parties. That's not going to help. But anyway,
Kevin, they could make a mandate and they could say that, okay, we're gonna come back, we're gonna play football, you're gonna stay in your dorm, blah blah. Again, these kids are not staying in the dorm room.
No, I know.
They're not. If you get them away from home, the only way they're staying in their house is if they're at mom and dad's house and mom and dad have a heavy fist. And not all of them do in today's world.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm a better parent than anybody else, but some of these kids that I see in today's world, they run all over their parents. I'm going to do this. I don't care what you say. I'm going to do this. I'll sneak out of the house, blah, blah, blah. Again, it comes down to what I said about 20 minutes ago. And if somebody dislikes me for using a bad word on our show called moron, then so be it. I don't care.
There's a lot worse
because
on the radio.
I see a lot of moronic people every day, Kevin. And that's the problem with the COVID. Well, people know what they have to do for it to be under control. Will they do it? No.
Right. Right.
I'm at a point now where we do sports shows almost every day. We have so many on the radio. We do the Grueling Truth, Elevation Sports. We do all these shows. So we're on social media all the time. And 6 months ago, before this all happened, that's all you would find on social media. I could sit on social media if I really wanted to for probably 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And now all I'm seeing is COVID this, COVID that, and not in good stuff. People fighting in America over a pandemic. It's crazy. It's just, I am at the point where I'm saying, where in the world is humanity going to? That's where I'm at. So I don't think we're having college football, Kevin. I really don't. Because you're not keeping the college kids in the dorm. Bottom line. Move on. What's next?
That's all I got. And there's nothing more, nothing crazy.
That's all you got.
Nothing crazy.
You talked
There's
yourself
some
out
funny,
at the beginning of the show.
Things. Like there was a Michigan early enrollee from this past year's graduating class. So he's set to be a freshman this year. I believe it was Michigan. And it wasn't Michigan. I don't remember what school it was at this point. It's a blur to me. But he was an early enrollee, so he went onto campus in January, and now he's already in the transfer portal. Like a few months later, not even, doing anything with the program. It could completely be, he's away from home and his mom got sick or whatever. I have no idea. I have no clue. But it's odd to see an early enrollee months later say, yeah, well, I'm out of here. Get me into the portal.
You wanted to throw a topic out there to see if you could get me started today, and you did. and I will on this. You know how much I love the transfer portal. You know how much I love kids transferring. It's all about the entitlement today, man. I am going down one dark road on this show today. People are going to think I'm like this crabby old man that has no outlook on life. But seriously, I'm looking at it, Kevin, going back to when I coached in college, when I played in college, at the great school, University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Yeah, you know what? I had guys on that team, Kevin, at Whitewater. They were pissed off at the coach. They hated that coach. They hated running. They hated doing this. They hated doing that. Did the word transfer ever come out of their mouth? Never. Never. And now all I hear about is transfer. I don't like it here. I'm not playing enough. It's too hard for me to practice. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to follow the rules. Oh my God, I'm going to transfer. That's all I hear about. I know there's legitimate transfers. I understand that when a coach leaves, something happens with your family, you want to be closer to home, fine. Right. I understand that. But to be honest, Kevin, I said, what is it, last week I said it? I think last week we talked about transfers. I want to know why these kids are transferring. They should not be approved to transfer until they give a honest reason why they're going to transfer. Not some beat around the bush, oh, I don't feel comfortable here. Blah, blah. No, I want a reason. Why are you transferring? Are you just mad because you are second fiddle now? Because I think we've given them too much leeway. And again, I am this dark, grumpy old man today that has given up on society. We have given in, and we've entitled these kids, oh, I could just go to the transfer portal if the coach, if he makes me work too hard and now I'm not his favorite, I'm just going to transfer to somewhere that wants me.
You don't even have to let your school know. You don't even have to let your coach know. And you can just enter the portal. So you don't even have to tell anyone.
No, and hopefully I told you when I coached Kevin, which was eons ago, that to transfer at that time, you had to get permission from the school. And then, of course, society is getting touchy, feely. We can't make anybody mad. No, now they can get drunk one night and they can be with a girl and the girl's going to say, or a guy, if it's a female athlete, oh yeah, I'm going back home. I'm done with school. Oh, maybe I'll transfer to a school closer to you because I love you. I mean, that could happen.
Oh, yeah.
But when I coached Kevin, a player that wanted to transfer had to get permission from the program to actually talk to another school. And you know what? I was okay with that as a coach. I was 100% okay with that. The thing is, we've gotten too lenient with everyone, and we're giving in. Nobody likes rules anymore. And you know what? Here we go. I got to circle back to COVID on it. Grumpy old man with the dark side. Nobody likes rules. Well, nobody likes rules. And guess what? COVID's not going away because nobody likes rules.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry to be Debbie Downer on the show today. I just get irritated with everything going on. And I keep looking at it, and I really, Kevin, I sat and talked to one of my older friends, so I consider you a good friend because you and I have known each other for a while, but you're the youngster. I talked to somebody in my own age group, and we reminisced about growing up. We talked about riding bikes to school and putting a little chain link lock on our front tire on our bike that you could probably rip off with your hands if you were anyone of a man. But, man, we thought that little chain link was going to keep that bike safe all day, and it did. It did. Yeah. It just, we look back at the simple times that him and I grew up. And, yeah, we thought it was tough back then. But, man, I look at it now, it's like, to be honest, I want to transport some of these kids back to my time. I really do. Like literally riding your bike to school in the downpour because you missed the bus and it was your fault. And guess what? Mom and Dad, they're off at work. They're not coming back to pick you up and bring you to school. Get on your darn bike and ride in the downpour because you're the dumbass that didn't get out to the bus stop. And that's not a story. That actually happened to me. Mom was gone. Dad was at work. My brother and sister got to the bus, but no, what was I doing? Oh, Mom left today. I'm going to play another game of Atari. Oh, guess what? I missed the bus. There's no cell phone. I wasn't texting Mom. Hey, no, I had to get to school. So guess what? And then guess what happened when I got home? I got to school. I went to school all day. But guess what happened when I got home? Do you think everything was fine and dandy because, oh, you got to school and you were intuitive because you rode your bike? Do you think that was the answer I got from Mom when I got home? No. Why are you soaking wet, and why did you have to take your bike to school? Oh, and I got grounded for a week. I mean, rules. There's rules. And that's where I'm going with this, Kevin. It's like COVID, NCAA football, everything out there. I'm getting irritated with life. Not in a bad way, just it's not getting better. So, what else you got?
Yeah, I think that's the general mood around the country, realistically, is just disappointment and some sorrow because it's like we just can't beat this because of moronic human beings. So,
yeah, and again, I go back to, if we offended anybody by using that reference, I mean, I'll apologize, but it's just that's the way it is. I mean, just walk out your door and walk down your neighborhood. I guarantee you find about 5 of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are stupid people all over the place.
You work in a grocery store, and that story I told you about touching stuff and putting it back on the shelf, how often do you see that every day, youngster?
Oh, yeah.
You work in a grocery. You work in a You work in probably the worst part of the store.
Right.
To spread COVID. How many people do you see come into your store and pick up a head of lettuce and then put it back?
I rarely see
someone. You don't
have
enough fingers and toes to count the number of people that do that.
I rarely see someone pick up a product and say, okay, perfect, and just throw it in the cart immediately. Like, no, you have to look at it, investigate it, see if there's any brown spots, see if there's any dents whatsoever, see what the expiration date is, see what the expiration date behind that item is, to see if it's more fresh. That's almost more common to touch 3-4 items before you put it in the cart. So.
Well, I love seeing the ones too. Well, it's in a bag, it's in a packet. Last I heard, COVID can go on the plastic. COVID can go on the cardboard. Oh,
somehow
the
item has to get in the bag first. So.
Well, they don't think they think only the product doesn't have to have it, but they don't look at the packaging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I'm going to stop here because you're just going to keep me going. Let's try to find something to end positive on the show today. I know we've been going at it a little over 30 minutes. Is there something positive we can talk about before we let the listeners go?
Camp Randall's supposed to get one of its end zone. I think it's the south end zone renovated. That's being put off because of COVID. So there's some positivity. No, obviously.
Well, I don't.
But
no, honestly, they should do it during COVID. Why not do it now? This would be a perfect time to do it.
I think you have fewer workers. They're having to be more cautious and abide by guidelines, and I think it's just more difficult.
Yeah, and I guess it's not essential. It's not essential work, so I understand that.
Let me see. I'm trying to go down. I mean, like I said before, there's watch list stuff. There were.
That's not going to be happy for me. You know how much I love those.
Yeah, I know. Penn State got a 4-star linebacker commitment.
For what, 2025?
21. So it's the following year.
Far away.
No, yeah, that's as close as it can come, realistically. That's the next recruiting cycle is the class of 2021. So the incoming freshmen are class of 2020. But yeah, so that's a positive thing. Yeah, there's not much. Yeah, I'm looking, but there's really not much.
Well, I know it's a Big Ten. I know it's a Big Ten show, and we were just kind of negative about college football. But Kevin, in all reality, it looks like the major sports are going to figure out a way to at least try and get it started. And I'm excited for that. I mean, we got NBA basketball coming back. We got NHL hockey coming back. We got Major League Baseball. That's a little different to me because they're not in a bubble. And then NFL is, yeah, like I said earlier in the show, the Packers have literally canceled fan involvement for training camp, family night, and all their exhibition games, which is fine, but it's coming back. And that is a positive thing to me. It's just with college football, and it's just the demographic of player, it's just probably not possible. But on a good note, if the NBA and the NHL and the MLS and all of these leagues, there's more than just the four major sports coming back. Lacrosse is coming back. Women's soccer has come back. If they can make it work with limited cases, that would be a positive thing for college football. Because then they would just have to follow a model of one of these leagues.
Right.
But the problem you have with one of those models is putting those players in a bubble. And a 20-year-old in a bubble is a lot different than a 31-year-old in a bubble that has a wife and 3 kids across the country. But that's a positive that we have pro sports coming back.
Yeah, I'm pretty damn hopeful for the NBA and NHL in particular. Those two, I think, are going to work. MLB, I don't know. But the Major League, the NHL and NBA, I think those will work. So, yeah, I think part of it is you're truly in a bubble. You're away from home. It's just you and your teammates, and as long as everyone's doesn't have COVID and you're able to keep each other in your own little bubble because you're away from everyone else and no one's allowed to enter, I mean, there's no reason why anyone should get it. And if one person does, then okay, you've got your room, you can quarantine. Here you go. See you later. And the rest of the team can do their thing. But in college, it's it's a different story. So, anyway.
Yeah, wrap it up, youngster. Let everyone know where they can find our stuff.
On Twitter, @YoungStrollman is where you can find all of our shows, as well as thegruelingtruth.com. For Troy, if you want to talk about his negativity on this show, I was pretty negative too. I was
the old man with the dark side going down the dark path today. I was sort of like friends with Darth Vader today.
I mean, I think this is the first show that we're like, hey, college football this season, I don't know. Not looking good. I mean, so overall, it was more of a negative show, which it is what it is. We'll give you the truth.
Well, it is, and I don't want to start now at the end of the show. I really don't. We're gonna put this one behind us. It's just because of everything going on in the world, and I'm not even quarantined, Kevin. I mean, I'm out every day working, and I just see what's going on. So yeah, if you want to find me, Troy Robert 967. Tell me that I'm a moron. I don't care. I really don't. I really don't. I mean, we've heard worse we've been doing shows 5 years now. Yeah, we've heard much worse than that. So you won't hurt our feelings. But with that said, we're out of here, youngster. We're gonna let the listeners go. If you want to find all of our stuff, like Kevin said, find us on Twitter @Youngster. We'll get back at you next week, same place, same time. Have a good day, everyone.